not allowed to pick fights anymore. Yeah, it's great. It's actually great. Fighters get so mad at you whenever you pick fights. If you pick against them, they get pissed off. Yeah, it was crazy. It was the most insane thing I've ever seen in my life.
Halo pembaca kompas.com, kita kembali lagi nih bersama tamu istimewa lagi nih dari UFC. Kali ini kita bersama The Great DC, Daniel Cormier sudah bersama kita. Kita akan ngobrol-ngobrol bentar, pasti seru banget nih. Yuk kita langsung aja yuk, kita ngobrol sama DC. Hi DC, how are you today?
I'm good. Thank you.
Yeah, so
I thought you were going to say something else.
no, it's okay. Because it's such a privilege to be able to talk to you today. Thank you for taking the time to chat with us in Kompas.com and Indonesian UFC fans.
Oh, thank you guys for having me. I appreciate it.
Like, do you know that Indonesia has a really big UFC audience?
I didn't know that. Yeah, but everybody in the world likes mixed martial arts.
Yeah. Well, Indonesia is one of them, and we are for sure really digging UFC and also every fighter in it, especially you, DC. So,
thank you guys.
Okay, so how are you? How's retirement? Is it everything that you expected? You thought it would be?
It's everything. I love it. I mean, you miss certain things, right? You miss going to the gym and being around the guys and training, but to this point, it's been pretty good. I've been having a good time and just really working. You talk about retiring, but it's not like I'm just retired. It's like I'm still working all the time.
Yeah. Okay. So, what are you doing lately? I mean, other than doing the commentary and spending time, obviously, with your family, do you have any other activities?
Just kind of, being around my wrestling kids as much as I can. With the pandemic and everything, it's not as easy as it once was, but whenever I can, I go to practices and get the kids running and just trying to help them, because these kids got so used to all this activity that it takes a mental toll on them to not be doing anything anymore. So, I try to get to practice as much as I can and just work with my kids.
Okay, so what's your favorite pastime with your family during these holidays? I mean, you said that a lot of activities are we cannot do this anymore in the pandemic. So what are you doing to substitute that? Do you play board games with them, or do you ask them to play video games with you, your new PS5?
Yeah, we're video gamers in my house, man. Me and my son play some video games, and honestly, we go golfing. We golf a lot. Like I adopted golfing after I stopped fighting, and we go out to the golf course quite a bit, me and my son, and hit balls and try to learn this hard game that people seem to enjoy, that I'm having. I love, but it's very difficult to get good at.
Okay. So watching your feed is like you play every game there is, right? In your PS5, you play the Call of Duty one, you got the Miles Morales one. What do you have any favorite genre of games? Or
my favorite game is probably NBA 2K. I play it a lot. I love NBA 2K, but boy, that Miles Morales was a good game, huh? Story was short though. It was very short story. The Miles Morales, but with the free world and being able to kind of float around and do a whole bunch of other stuff makes the game still fun. But that was a great game. But I'm not the best at Call of Duty. I die too much. These guys are so good now on Call of Duty Online, it just runs me off the game.
There's too much younger person playing Call of Duty with better reflexes than people of our age.
They're on those stupid computers. They're on their computers now, right? So all the PC gamers get to play with you on your controller. And those guys, I guess they have they can see a bigger board as they're on there. It's kind of cheating a little bit. Holloway uses PC. Cheater.
Yeah, no, it's like Fortnite, right? Where you got people on PC and you got people on PS. So it's really kind of difficult. So moving on, well, it's been a tragic year, obviously, with the COVID, but also breathtaking year also with the BLM movement and the way the UFC come back in the middle of the pandemic. I just want to know, what is your major key takeaways from 2020?
I think in 2020, we saw our country and our world get rocked by something that we never expected, and I thought that we saw resilience. I thought we saw the strength of people, the ability to come together for a common purpose. I saw people divided and then come back together. I saw a lot of different strength, and I think we learned how strong we are as a people around the world to really get through this pandemic and really not lose sight of the things that are most important. Your family. You saw families become stronger during this pandemic. You saw people coming together more during this pandemic. And I think as time went on, you saw people become and really show themselves overall as just a strong race of humans.
I see. Interesting. Next year, the UFC has a lot of great agendas for 2021. One of them is Israel Adesanya. He's going to light heavy. Mike Bisping described to me a few weeks ago that Adesanya's fight against Blachowicz as a super duel. What's your take on this? Can he become the next UFC superstar after your friend Khabib?
Oh man, I think he's already a superstar, right? I think Israel Adesanya is special. I think that, I said this after he fought Paulo Costa.
Paulo Costa, you're right.
He's a star.
Yeah.
He's made the jump. From him walking to the octagon, you could see it, right? Without the fans, you can feel that star aura about Israel Adesanya. You could feel that he has made the leap from a good fighter to a bona fide superstar. And then he goes out and puts on the performance that he did. So I watched that fight and I walked away from it feeling like I don't know who I would pick to beat Israel Adesanya. And that's how I feel today, from middleweight to light heavyweight, and certain heavyweights, if he gets big enough, would have a lot of problems fighting against the last Albender.
Okay. And he's got the personality also, right, to make it like to that big leap that you talk about.
Absolutely, right? He's not a guy that is quiet. He's not reserved. He doesn't sit there and just kind of accept whatever's coming to him. He tries to carve his own path. And I think that's so important in mixed martial arts. Guys, that being humble is great, right? That's a great thing, but it doesn't work for everybody. You got to be willing to step out of yourself a little bit. Every time I talk to these young wrestlers, they ask me about what did it take, DC? How do you become that guy that people tune in for? I go, for me, it was turning my level up, right? Yeah. You turn the volume up. You be yourself, but then you turn that knob all the way up to as loud as that radio can play. And that's what draws people in. Whether they love you, whether they hate you, they just have to care about you. And that's what you want. Indifference is your biggest enemy in fighting or any sports.
Okay, cool. So that's Adesanya, but who do you think is the next breakthrough UFC fighter? Some people say it's Khamzat Chimaev, others say it's Jorge Masvidal. Who do you pick?
I think Jorge Masvidal has already kind of reached that level, right? You see it in the pay-per-view buys that they had over on Fight Island when he stepped in on short notice. You don't help sell 1 million pay-per-views unless you're a star, and I think he's a bona fide star, right? From winning the BMF title, getting The Rock, putting it on him, getting the rub from The Rock, the 5-second knockout of Ben Askren. There are a number of things that played into Jorge Masvidal being who he is today. But Khamzat Chimaev stands out as one of the guys. Kevin Holland is a guy that stands out like above a lot of the others. And then you start to look at the champs like Davison Figueiredo. This guy has the ability to really resonate with the people. Look at how people have taken to him in such a short title reign. Imagine what happens as time goes on.
Okay. So let's talk a bit about Khabib. Khabib said that he would like to bring the MMA to the Olympics. As a former Olympian, what are your takes on it? Any chance that MMA will be played in the Olympics in the near future, do you think?
Well, I think that it can happen. I think it'll take a lot of planning. There would have to be a lot of protection in regards to how to make it possible. The weigh-ins, the competing over multiple days, over multiple matches with the punches and the kicks and everything. It's possible, but I still believe that it will be very difficult for it to happen. But I do believe that with the right planning and with the right eyes on it, it is possible to happen.
Okay. And which country will excel, do you think?
Oh man, that's difficult. You know, USA. Of course, it's
Of course.
USA, man. Come on, the Olympics start and I wear red, white, and blue clothes for 18 straight days. Like, come on.
Sure. Okay. Back to Khabib. This is a question from bolasport.com, our affiliate, the #1 sports website in Indonesia. Dana will meet Khabib next month to talk about his planned comeback. How confident are you that Khabib will make it to 30-0? Did he consult to you things before he's making the decision?
You know, if he fights, he'll get 30-0. Like, nobody's gonna beat him. You know, it's just a matter of what's important to him. You know, is getting to that number what's important to him, or is it something else? You know, I don't know. I haven't spoken to him about that. You know, in our conversations now, we talk about just normal stuff, our families, our children, and just stuff like that. You know, it's not about whether or not he's going to fight. I'll leave that to him and Dana. You know, they can go figure that out on their own. And if he does fight, he'll tell me after. You know, I'm going to fight DC. And I'll be like, you know what? I support you. If he meets Dana and goes, I'm not going to fight, I'll say, all right, my man, I support you. You know, it doesn't really matter to me.
Oh, I see. Because Khabib has a very big followers in Indonesia. I mean, like, what's the last thing that you talk with him, if not for the match outside of the octagon? What's the last conversation you had with him?
You know, we just talk. You know, we make jokes and talk about things. That, you know, last thing we talked about was probably a wrestling tournament. You know, the last thing we spoke about was the World Cup of Wrestling happened a few weeks ago, and the team from Russia won 9 weight classes. Nice. And we had 8 or 9 guys from Dagestan on that team. And that's all we talked about. You know, we didn't talk about fighting. We didn't talk about any of that. We talked about wrestling. And that's what friends do, you know. They talk about things that matter to them in that moment.
Yeah, sure, of course. Okay, moving on. Well, John Cavana said that a Conor versus Khabib rematch will be a phenomenal event. Do you think it's gonna be? So, what's your take about it? Or do you think it's enough?
No, absolutely. I mean, if that is what they would do, then I think it would be fantastic, because I was there the first time. The energy in that place was out of control. I've never felt anything like it. From all the fights and main events, I saw something the other day that and since 2015 to today, I've main evented more UFCs than anybody in the organization. I've never felt nothing like being in that arena when Conor fought Khabib. And I believe that if they did it again, it would feel just the same, if not bigger.
I see. Oh, cool. Thank you. That's a great insight, because you're obviously on the venue event that itself, and you can give us a more concrete, more feeling about the place, right? Because we just saw it on TV, and it's going to be a different feelings, obviously, right?
Yeah, it was crazy. It was the most insane thing I've ever seen in my life.
Okay, moving on. Miocic and Jon Jones, who is the better fighter?
I think both of those guys are very good, man. You know, I think Stipe does a lot of things really well. He hits extremely hard. Yep. He's in great shape. You know, he does a good job of switching angles. I think Jones is a fantastic fighter. I think what people forget is how smart Jones is in there. He uses a lot of kicks, very diverse attack. It's a good fight. That would be a fantastic fight. I think it's a very even matchup between those two guys, because, I mean, Miocic hits hard. Even though he lost all that weight, he still hits really, really hard.
Yeah, of course. And Jon Jones in the heavyweight, could he dominate the division also?
I think he'll do well. I think there's just so much less room for error up at heavyweight. You know, at 205, he gets hit a lot. You know, and I think that people miss that Jones does get hit a lot. But guys don't hit as hard at 205 as they will at heavyweight. And some of the shots that he got hit with by myself or Lahove, Dominic Reyes or Thiago Santos, those guys hit hard, but nowhere near the power of these heavyweights.
I see. Okay. So one of the first fights in 2021, Conor versus Dustin Poirier, who will win?
I don't have to pick the fight no more, because I get to call the fights. It's like it's illegal for me to pick a winner, which saved me from the guys being all mad at me whenever I would pick fights. So this is one of the great joys of being a commentator now.
Seriously, you can't pick the fight winner?
Not allowed to pick fights anymore. Yeah, it's great. It's actually great. Fighters get so mad at you whenever you pick fights. If you pick against them, they get pissed off.
Okay, that's a new thing for me. Okay, back to wrestling side. You once said that your heroes are all the great wrestlers in history, from John Smith to Dan Gable and Kenny Monday. But do you have any other sporting heroes outside of wrestling? And have you ever implemented any aspect of other sports during your career?
You know, I've always watched the great champions that came before me, you know, the Randy Couture's and Chuck Liddells of the world. But, you know, as I got older in the sport, I really kind of took to Kobe Bryant in the way that he thought and approached things, right? He was so insanely competitive, but was also able to look forward, right? And I think that's why he was so successful post-basketball, was because he was able to live in the sport during the time that he was there, but able to plan for the future. And it felt like his second act was about to be bigger than anything he had ever done in sport, which sounds crazy, but it was that mentality, you know, that killer's mentality in between the lines, but also his ability to compartmentalize that killer inside of him in regards to his family and everything else that he would do.
Yeah. Well, for you, is he like the greatest athlete of all time, or do you think like people like Muhammad Ali, like Michael Jordan, still in front of the queue?
You know, I think Muhammad Ali and Michael Jordan, those guys will stand the test of time. You know, it's hard to think that anybody will be better than Jordan when I watch what Michael Jordan did to the best basketball players in the world. Muhammad Ali too. You know, it'll be difficult, but Kobe does stand up there with all those guys, and there's not a guy in the world that ever had a competitive drive like Kobe Bryant.
Yeah, interesting. Okay, so the next one is, what's the biggest sacrifice you ever made in your career?
You know, I think there were a number of things, you know, that you had to do. You know, I think that just going down to 205, right? When Kane was the champ at heavyweight, you know, I think that was for me, but also for the team, the strength of the team and everything else. You know, I think that took a lot of loyalty, a lot of discipline to do. And I think that was probably the biggest thing that I've had to sacrifice. You know, really just putting my teammate ahead of the things that I wanted.
I see. Okay, and then you obviously dedicate your whole life for the sports of wrestling, right? From post college up to the UFC years. Do you have any unfulfilled ambition in wrestling? Or
no, you know, I want to just be a good coach. You know, I just want to be a good coach and help the kids achieve some of the things that I have to you know, hope for them to achieve. You know, outside of that, I'm good with my wrestling career. You know, I made 2 Olympic teams, and I got a world medal, and I was a multiple-time national champion and All-American. You know, it don't get much better than that. So I'm more than happy with the way my career played out.
Oh, I see. Okay. One last question back to Khabib. If he did come back, who do you think will be the perfect match for him?
You know, I just think that it would have to be one of those big ones. You know, a George St. Pierre legend, somebody that really does get the competitive juices going. You know, for a guy that's accomplished everything, it seems difficult to think that he would come back for anything outside of something like that.
I see. Okay, interesting. So for yourself, do you still open the door for you to have a one last fight or 2?
I'm good, man. I'm happy. I had fun. It was good. It was good. But, you know, listen, you get older and you notice things are different. And I could sense things were different. And it was my time.
Okay. So it's better to play, I don't know, UFC 4 maybe?
Yes, I can relive the glory days through my UFC guy on the game.
Cool.
That guy doesn't age. He stays where he was.
Yeah. He stays like that all the time. So, lastly, do you have any messages to the Indonesian UFC fans or to your fans from Indonesia?
Yeah, thank you guys for all the support. Thank you guys for supporting myself, the UFC, and all my teammates. We appreciate it. I know at times people feel like they get lost in the grandness of all of this, but we're very aware. We're very aware of the people that support us, and we compete for you guys. So thank you guys so much. I appreciate you all for all the support over the course of my career, and we got many more memories to make. Just on the outside of the octagon opposed to being inside of.
Ah, cool. Could you say thank you in Indonesia? In Indonesia, yes. It's called terima kasih. Could you say that? Terima kasih Indonesia.
Terima kasih Indonesia.
Yeah, cool. That's great.
Terima kasih Indonesia.
Terima kasih Indonesia. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Yeah, I think that's about it.
Thank you.
DC, thank you so much for your time again.
No problem, buddy.
Keep healthy and everything.
Happy holidays. Bye-bye.
Happy holidays, man.